Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulihi wa ala ahlihi wa ala sahbihi wa ala al-muslimin wal mu'minin ajma'in. Amma ba'da. Allah says in the Quran, أَوْ كَالَّذِي مَرَّ عَلَى قَرْيَةٍ, or it is like the one or that who passed by a town, and this town was in ruins, devastated, empty, vacant. Many of us know towns like that, right? Yes. Some of you all have probably seen pictures of Detroit and you see a town in ruins. Look like the aftermath of a war zone, right? Yes. So I'm here to speak to you today. I just want to say a couple of things about myself so I won't offend anyone. I'm a teacher by nature, so I'm a teacher. I'm going to teach. And so when you're teaching, sometimes people say you have the tendency to talk down to them. Atlanta, right? I'm going to use my imagination as I talk to you. And I pray that you benefit from what I'm saying, what I'm going to say today. Inshallah. So he says, someone is saying, how can Allah cause life to come to this town? How can we bring a town to life? How can we make it vibrant again? How can you look at a picture of Detroit and say, how? How can we bring this back to be vibrant? Have that, the Motown, the Motor City. Now I'm gonna make my point without trying to take a long time so you remember the point when you leave. It's better that you remember something when you leave than me taking a long time and you don't remember anything. So in the Quran, the verse following, Abraham is asking the same question. Abraham says, my Lord, show me how you cause life to come to the dead. So many of us, when we read this, we may think Abraham is talking about when you're dead, a dead body goes in the grave, how can you bring the life back? But in the Quran, every verse is connected with the previous verse, all the way through. Starting from Al-Fatiha all the way through the whole Quran, every verse is tied to the previous verse. It's like pearls on a necklace. In each shade, you start with one shade, and each shade is off of that shade, but though every pearl has its own shade, it's connected with the shade that comes before it. So Abraham, he's maybe perhaps, I'd say perhaps because the Quran is not a rigid book, it's not a small rigid book, it's broad, it's very dynamic. So what I'm even reading and saying from it is not to be taken as something very rigid. You have to stay open with it. Stay open with the Quran and think. So I'm here to cause you to think, not to tell you what to do, just to think, give you something to think about. So perhaps Abraham is talking about this town. But Abraham is saying, show me, like as though he's from Missouri. Right? Show me how you bring this town back to life. Now, perhaps we would say through gentrification. Just take some people that's alive and move them in, right? Gradually. And as you move them in gradually, and they begin to bring the town back to life, the dead people can't afford the rent in a live town. They got to move and go to a cemetery somewhere where they belong. Because we can't bring them to life. So, and many of us, we feel gentrification is something negative. We speak against it. It's all about us. But we're going to go down the road. When we go down the road, we got to do some gentrification. We got to identify an area. We have to identify a place that we can create a town. And when we create the town, because of the moral life of the people in that town, they may have to get up and move because they can't afford to live around good people. Huh? Okay. So Abraham wants to know. He wants to know. Just so his heart will be at ease. So Allah says to him, فَخُذْ أَرْبَعَةً. فَخُذْ أَرْبَعَةً. Now, let me say this. Normally, I would say to an audience that at least one of you should know what I just said. When I say, فَخُذْ أَرْبَعَةً. And I know one of you do. I know two of you do. I know three of you do. Because this is Atlanta. This is my imagination. So I know your Imam does. I know your assistant Imam does. And I know some of you. Because you're in a city that's centered around education. That's what we know about Atlanta. So when we look down the road and I say, فَخُذْ أَرْبَعَةً, the average person in here should know what I'm saying without me translating it. The average person, the common person should know. Because I'm going to show you in the speech, inshallah. So he said, take four. Take four. Now, most will say, take 4 birds. Right? But no, he says, take 4. Let's pause at the 4. And we can find 4. We have to find 4. Where is the idea of 4? How we take 4 and we could bring a town to life with 4. So many of you know my good brother, Imam Fahim Shuaib, he just wrote a book, a philosophy book. And in his book, he named 4. He says you have to create, this is from Quran. You create first, right? Then you place the thing you have created into the system. So we can create a town, right? We create it, then we're going to put it in the system. It has to function with all the other towns in the system. Then we're going to give it its potential. This town will have potential to advance. And then we're going to guide it as we regulate the potential. That's 4. And from here on, you have to go read the book. That's 4. Some say it's 4 birds, and they name the 4 as education, politics, culture, and business. And that's what's popular. Those are 4 birds. But I'm not going to disagree with that. I'm just going to put it in another perceptive idea. So, but first we have to look at the Quran and say, what is it saying? Before we can talk about what it means, before we can develop a logic from it, we have to know what it's saying. Just what is it saying? So when it says take 4, it says men are 30. Take 4, men are 30. Now, Yusuf Ali says take 4 birds. I'm not here to tell you I know Arabic better than Yusuf Ali. I'm not qualified to tell you that Yusuf Ali made a bad translation. I'm just here to say, when I read it, I see something else. I see it saying take 4 from the bird. Because when you're counting, you don't use a preposition men for the thing that you're counting. So it looks like it's saying take 4, but take 4 from the bird. Now this word for bird, it is said it's used for the singular, meaning that it's singular, but it's when you're speaking of the whole group. What's the word for the whole group? Not plural. Collective. It's collective. Like apple. Like you have the apple. The apple could be a red apple, green apple, right? The grape, different grapes. But for the collective whole, for the whole, it's called apple. It's the whole. And they all have something in common that we put it in the category of apple. You following? So the bird, there are many birds. There are many kinds of birds. There's the sparrow. There's the eagle. There's the cardinal. And if you don't have much education, you say the red bird, the green bird, the blue bird, right? Like they do people, black people, white people. Because they don't have much education, they can't say Balalian, Caucasian, right? So they only know the colors. Okay. So here, if you're talking about collective, from the collective of the birds, and you're going to take a portion of them, perhaps there are 4 birds out of the collection of birds. And perhaps you still end up with 4 birds. But you're still taking from the whole. You're cutting up the whole, right, into 4s. Or you're taking 1 bird, and you're taking 4 from the 1 bird. You're still dealing with the whole. Now, when I read the Quran, and the way I teach the students, is that when you're reading the Quran, let something will come to your mind about what you're reading. Let it come. Allah can be showing you. It can be from your experience, something you've seen, something you've heard. Don't block it out and follow Yusuf Ali. Just let it come. Let it come to you. Let the picture come as you're reading. Don't throw the picture out. You might have to interpret the picture, but just don't throw it out. So now I have to look to see, instead of me going into the Quran, trying to follow somebody into the Quran, let me read the Quran for myself and see where is this bird? If I'm taking the logic of it being a bird, I have to find a bird. So I go out to look for the bird. So where's this bird at? 4. So we're taking 4. Muhammad the Prophet says that when you give in zakat, you give 2.5% of 10. Give 2.5 of 10. 2.5 of 10 is 1/4. Now, I'm imagining you all are educated because this is the educated town. Yes, sir. Right? I'm just going off imagination. So I don't need to get my calculator out for this, do I? Okay. But somewhere in the history of Islam, someone says it's 2.5 of 100. 2.5 of 100 is 2.5%. So we have the idea somewhere, and I'm not questioning them or disagreeing, that zakat is 2.5%, not 25%. 2.5 of 100 is 25%. 2.5 of 10 is 25%, 1/4, 1/4. So when you give, you're to give 1/4. You're not to give everything. In this Khutbah, I'm only giving you 1/4. But in this 1/4 should be enough for you to get the other 3. That's all you're required to give is 1/4. Not the whole Khutbah, so that when you leave, you don't have to think. I'm only giving you 1/4, and you got to think about how to get the other 3. You follow? Yes, okay. So let's follow the logic. Let's follow the logic here. Let's follow the logic of the 4. The 4 being education, politics, business, and culture. That's the 4. So we take the bird now, and we're going to cut the bird up into 4, up into these 4, right? The whole bird. But where is this bird at? We need something to find in a society I can point to help you remember the bird and show you where the bird is. So, on the back of the quarter, there's a bird. I don't know if it's coincidental. I just know there's a bird on the quarter, and there's a bird on the dollar. And perhaps they're the same bird, and you get 1/4 of the dollar. Now, if you can get 1/4 of the dollar, and however you get that 1/4, you should be able to get the other 3/4, get the whole dollar. Right? Okay. There's a bird, and I'm looking for 4 birds too. I have to look for 4 birds in case we're saying 4 birds. Take 4 birds, or take 4 from the bird. The president has a flag. The president of the United States has a flag, and on that flag is a bird. Not 4 birds, 1 bird. But they can take from that 1 bird and give us 4 from the 1 bird. So we get the freedom of speech, we get the freedom of religion, we get the freedom of assembly, right? Okay, you get the 4 freedoms taken from the 1 bird. That bird may be representing for them that 4, the liberties. Now, here's my point. We have a bird too. Our flag is a bird. Have you seen our flag lately? I don't see it in here. We have it. I know the Imam has it on the Hajj. I've seen a picture. See, when I talk, I name names. No, this is good. He's carrying our flag at the Hajj, right? That's right. And I've seen a picture of him holding the flag up. On that flag is a bird, but the bird is a Quran. And the bird has its wings outstretched, right? And it's flying, and it's soaring without flapping the wings. Some birds got to flap the wings real fast and not stop. Some birds can just do like this and go for a long way. And then they give a little flap. That's like turning the pages. Turn the pages nice and slow. That's our flag. Are you all following? Yes, sir. Okay, so you take 4 from the bird. The bird is the Quran. So you take 4 from the Quran. You take education from the Quran. You take politics from the Quran. You take culture from the Quran. You take business from the Quran. You take the bird and take whatever portion you're involved in, you take it from the bird. But since these 4, I'm following our imams in our community, since they're saying these 4 are the 4 that we need to advance our whole community, to bring this community alive, I'm agreeing with them. But all I'm saying is that it's not 4 birds, it's just 1 bird. And that bird is the Quran. And that bird is our flag. So when we see that flag, we should see this verse. Take 4 from the bird. Now, if you take just one 1/4 from the bird, you can get the other 3. But all you need is 1/4. So we've seen towns. Haven't we seen towns that we call culture towns? The town is known to just, they selling culture. They're called tourist towns, like New Orleans. You go down to New Orleans, right? And they're selling tourism, voodoo and everything else. That's because they're selling their culture. And we buy it. Now they give you the Mardi Gras, all this is culture. And with that, that town comes to life based upon culture. Come to life. And we know other towns that's based upon tourism. Detroit can be a town that's based upon tourism. You see Detroit? Now I'm talking directly to you, and I'm talking to the Muslim community. Don't let your man go out there somewhere on the beach or something. Keep it right here. If we took Detroit, and I have to watch the clock. If we took Detroit, and we're going to make Detroit, we're going to create. First we have to create, and then we're going to put it in the system, and then we have to regulate the potential, and then we have to guide, right? That's the 4, to bring it to life. So let's create a town. Let's create this town, and this town is going to be based on tourism. And what's going to attract the tourists is the National Islamic Convention, National Islamic Museum. Yes. Yes. But y'all see how dead Detroit is. Detroit can't afford to build a museum on its own, right? But it doesn't have to. The whole community is going to build a museum because every major city is going to build its own wall. You know how you go into the museum, they got certain walls. They tell you about the history here and the history here. Well, you build Atlanta wall. On the Atlanta wall, it's going to have the whole history of Atlanta. And we can go there and we can read and look at Atlanta and how it has developed and has grown and how it's advanced. I'm looking down the road. And how are you going to get to where you're at down the road? Because I want to show you where you can be down the road. Now I'm talking Detroit down the road as a tourist town. And every year we're going to have a major convention in Detroit just to rehearse our history. Because if we don't, it can be lost. I was speaking to my son one day. We're at the restaurant, we're having lunch, and I said, I'm going to say some words to you. He's a young man, about 30 years old now. He's 30. That ain't too young, but that's younger than me. So I said, I'm going to say some words to you, and I want you to tell me what these words mean. I say the name behind the door. He looked at me. He said, I don't know. Now, a lot of y'all know, but it can be forgotten, the name behind the door. So I told him the story. I said, there's a house that's still standing in Detroit that Imam W.D. Muhammad was born in, and we know the story, the history of his name being placed behind this door. So my son started laughing. I said, what you laughing at? He said, Dad, you going to buy the house, and you going to go put his name behind the door. And I say, you got that right. But I could just put a sign. I say, listen, son, I could put a sign behind the door and say, this is the door, and this is where the name was written, right? And every year, people pay me $10 to go up in that room and look behind that door and read that sign. He laughing. Dad, you going to take advantage of it? I'm not taking advantage of him. That's just something to help us remember, right? Not only that, we have a national museum. So Atlanta could have a wall. Philadelphia can have a wall. New York can have a wall. Chicago have a wall. LA have a wall. Everyone, and you manage your own wall. That's what will make up the Sure group that will operate on the museum. And every year, every so often, you change your wall. You don't put your whole history on one wall. And it's and from the visits that we get once a year, it's going to bring the whole Detroit town back to life again, vibrant, just off the tourist. You following? Yes. Okay, Allahu Akbar. So, we've seen that. We've seen educational towns. Haven't you seen a college town where the only thing that exists in that town is a large university? and the whole town is alive and vibrant. I attended a college town. I went to a college. It was a college town. And so when you go in September, everything is bustling and alive, vibrant, sports, entertainment, all of this culture, everything is, everything is based on the university. But in the summer, when the students go home for the summer, the town goes down like it's dead. It's not alive anymore until the students come back. And the university is back up, running again, full force. It's alive. They're called college towns, based upon education. And the people who live in college towns, in and around college towns, the common people who don't attend college, they are more conscious and aware of things than if you go to a town where there is no college. That's why here, this town, from outside, now I don't know what you think about yourself, but this is what we think about you all. That you all is the education town. So we have our good Imam Playmate Al-Amin, who pushed and thrived to bring about, to start this town based upon education, right? That down the road, that's why I'm saying if you live in this town, you got a school here, you should be more conscious, more aware than the average Muslim community and average person in our Muslim community, because you're in a community that has a school. And just by having a school, having children in school, you should be more advanced than the average community in our association because of the school. Do you agree? Yes. Okay, let's go down the road then. Why not have a university? Why don't we look down the road that we should have in this town? This town, I'm talking about this, to bring this alive. Now, if you tell me, Brother Imam, we're already alive, then I'm just a reminder. I'm just a reminder. The Quran is called a reminder, so I'm not ashamed of being a reminder, because the Quran is a reminder. But if you don't have it, then let's go get it. Let's go down the road that we should have in this town. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just here something to think about, that we should have an international Islamic university here in Atlanta. That students from around the world comes here to study. And this town is going to be based upon a logic of the great reformer. That's what we say. That's what he said. That's what we say. The great reformer of modern day, of modern time. This university. And people will come here. And we'll start here. We'll start here with the college. We may start with a community college. We'll keep going and going until we get to where we want to be down the road. Then we go to Africa. Don't you know now? People say, Brother Imam, Salim, you talk like Marcus Garvey. Look, I'm talking bigger than Marcus Garvey.
Go ahead.
Just go look it up. I'm not being spooky. Just go look up and see how many flights go into just one country. See how many. I have to catch a flight to Ghana, right? Like I had to catch a flight to Atlanta. And you look, and they got a number of flights. Those planes are not empty. There's people on those planes. So look how many flights are going to Ghana. There's more people on those flights in one day going to Ghana than Marcus Garvey could have put on his boat. So I'm not back there. I'm down there somewhere.
Yes, sir.
So here, we start here. We build here, just the college town. That for the students, the serious students in Islamic education, even though we have the technology and everything we can use, I'm not giving you the ABCs, I'm just saying, would come to Atlanta for education. Then we go to Africa. And we have a system that we work with where Africans will come here to study at this university here in Atlanta. Why not?
Yes, sir.
Why not? Huh? We can even start right now. Right now. We could start having an exchange program where we have students coming from Africa that will spend time, at least a couple of years, in the high school here. You know how many people in Ghana want to come to the United States to study? And they want Western education. They want the education that we have to offer them. So we could be working on this and down, but we know the goal. What the goal is down the road. Let me make a side statement. When slavery started, no one knew what happened was going to happen. No one knew the treatment of the slave was going to be so devastating. They didn't know. I don't even think the Europeans knew. I think they just brought some crazy people over here and things got out of hand. I'm going to give that much credit to them. They didn't know. But they thought, based upon slavery, all slavery is not like American slavery that was in the world. This is unique. What happened to us is very unique. But I ain't here crying. They thought, and more than one person have said this, that if they sold slaves into slavery, and they would be part of the new world, because they knew about the new world that was going to be developing, that when they got freedom, and they would be part of the new world, they would come back and help them. That was their plan. But somehow the plan went a little awry, you know? But look how our plans. Huh? We're in a position now that we can go back and help them. Because if you go back and you ask them, there are places I saw in Ghana. If I say, how long have we been gone? And you look, you say only a day or even part of a day. Nothing has changed. The hut is still the hut. Everything, it still needs to be developed. You understand? And I say, oh, look like we've only been gone maybe a day, maybe a part of a day. They say, no, you've been gone 500 years. So we can help them. We can help. And it don't have to be big. And we can be in a position to help. But I'm not preaching back to Africa. I'm preaching dual citizenship. I'm saying we should be able to get on a plane and go back and forth. Like I came here to Atlanta, and I can go back home to Atlanta, I should be able to do the same with an African country without being harassed. Because I'm a citizen there, and I'm a citizen here. And we can help them. But we won't use the European method. We're going to help them come up, and as they come up, we'll be bringing ourselves up with them. And we all to get there together. The Europeans didn't do that. No, they go in and they oppress the people and take the goodies out. We're not going to do that. We're going to show them how to get their own goodies. And showing them how to do it, and we work them in doing it, we all come up. Alhamdulillah. Yes. So let's get back. Let's go back to education now. So you see, just having a college town, we're talking about this community right here. There's enough people in here to have a 4x4 block community based upon the university. And the business, everything else will come with it. It'll come automatically. Focus on one quarter, the other three will come. Yes. Are you all with me? Yes, sir. This is how Allah is saying, or we can read from the Quran and see how we can bring a dead town back to life. Politics, we can take D.C. Now I'm giving you what I got from Imam Abdin Muhammad. I'm just putting it in my own words like he told me to do. Put it in your words. You start with Detroit, we can go to Chicago, we can go to Milwaukee, and we can end up in D.C. And D.C. is the political town. So if I'm in D.C., we can talk about this being a political town, not a town where we're begging the government, not where we're using our sophistication and applying for grants from the government, begging the government very, very sophisticatedly. No, we be a town, we're talking about a Muslim community in D.C. that we contributes to the government. And because this town is based upon that bird, right? We took from the bird. We took politics from the bird, and they have already studied this bird. They took a lot from the Quran to build this place called United States of America. But we're going to read it again with a fresh mind, with a new mind, with a clean mind, and we're going to be able to say, hey, you missed something. In fact, you missed a whole lot that we can contribute to this country and bring this country advance this country in a way it has never been advanced before. This is not just talk. It used to be talk. But this is realistic of what we can do if we just remember. Remember, take 4 from the bird, and we have a flag. If you don't have it in your home, get it and put it in your home, and every now and then look at it. Because your life, what you're basing your community life on, you're taking it from the bird. And that bird is the Quran. That's our bird. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت وهو على كل شيء قدير أما بعد. Corruption and decency. Corruption and decency does not resemble nor are they on par with each other. We've gotten to a time in this country, sometimes we don't know the difference between corruption and decency. And that's getting bad. That's getting bad. I heard a sports show, and they are saying in so many words, these athletes are being accused of raping women, raping their girlfriend, maybe their wife, with no witnesses. No witnesses, right? And they saying they don't know, they really don't know if they can call it rape. Think about that. They don't even know if they can call it that. They don't know the difference between just a normal sexual activity, whether it's rape or not. That's how bad it is. That's how bad it is. The sexual activity is not even decent anymore. They don't make 2 rakats first, clean themselves up and make 2 rakats. That's decency. Their activity, you can't tell. If somebody getting beat up, stabbed, forced, or what? That's what they're saying. No witnesses. We don't know if gambling is corruption or decency. Well, it used to be corruption. You go out on the corner, you're throwing dice and you're gambling, you go to jail. That's corruption. Now you got casinos everywhere. Yeah, that's right. Is it good? We don't know. Liquor, drugs, you name it. Corruption and decency does not resemble, nor are they on par with each other. Though most corruption attracts you with pleasurable admiration. It attracts you. It looks good. It feels good. Establish a conscience that consents with what Allah wants of you, which will protect you from punishment. Now, many of us will read this. This is from Quran. This is a reflection from the Quran. I hear many preachers in Islam, they preach about the punishment in the hereafter. You don't have to wait. That's right. Look. Man, you're not long, you gotta wait. Don't you know that caused you to continue to be corrupt? Because if you're saying, hey, what I did yesterday, I won't be punished until the hereafter, I'll forget what I did and hope Allah forget. Look how long we have to wait. So no, if you drink liquor, you're punished right away. The punishment is in the liquor. Don't you know you lose your mind? Just think for one moment. What if Allah was not merciful and you stayed like that? You just can't undo it. It's not undone. You see the punishment? So I made my rakats, and I asked Allah's forgiveness. I won't drink again. And Allah gives your mind back. You're just as bright as you were before you drank the liquor. But before you drank the liquor, you couldn't even stand up on your own 2 feet. They found your legs somewhere. They had to carry you. like you were paraplegic or something. And Allah gave it all back. And you drink again. And you get punished again. At the moment, Allah, out of his mercy, he removes the punishment. And you keep going on. Next thing you know, the punishment is so big, you've lost your job, you've lost your family, you've lost everything, because in this life, you're being punished. Now, in the next life, the punishment will be worse. So corruption, no matter how good it looks, the punishment is in the corruption itself on this side of the life. You don't have to wait for the other side. And if you think you got away, on this side, you haven't gotten away. So taqwa is to make for yourself a protection against the punishment by being conscious of what Allah has created. Because in the creation is the benefits, and in the creation is the punishment. O companions of intelligent reasoning, perhaps you will achieve the supreme cultivation of the soul. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. Iqamatu salah.
Takbir! Allahu Akbar! Takbir! Allahu Akbar! Takbir! Allahu Akbar! Takbir! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا صراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر وسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Takbir.
The Uber knows. Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum. So again, we want to welcome Imam Salim and the others who are in town for the educational consortium that's going on all weekend at Muhammad schools. You can visit the schools table for registration and the details for that, inshallah. There is a janazah today. There's a janazah going to be immediately today after Salat, Sister Karima Rashid. So please make sure that we're here to pray for our sister. We'll be transitioning now for the janazah, inshallah. The parent-teacher meeting in the Pioneer Hall for Muhammad schools will be after the janazah. Tomorrow from 8:30 to 11:30, the New Africa Business Association is having the business breakfast. That'll be in the restaurant. It might be here in the Pioneer Hall. Where's Brother Lonnie? What did we decide, Brother Lonnie? But inshallah, so the business breakfast is tomorrow. Also this Sunday, the Muslim American Veterans Association has a special ta'aleem navigating the VA claim systems. So for all of our veterans, please be here for that. They'll be going over instructions on how to successfully file a disability claim. Also, the Agus, the Round Ball Classic is on the 11th. You can see Brother Omar Wajid for that. The Tybee Island trip for Smile is on the 18th. The road race is on the 3rd. And the other information is there in the update. Brother Clark is here. Where's Clark Muhammad? We welcome Brother Clark. He's feeling better. And he says he thanks everyone for their support while he's recovering, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. So we'll be transitioning now for the janazah for Sister Karima Rashid. After Sunnah, inshallah. So the brothers that are in the chairs, if you're finished praying and you're in the chairs, particularly that front row, let us transition. If you're finished making your sunnah, inshallah. Sunday, this Sunday at 1 o'clock. Brother. Yeah, here in the Musalla, Sunday, 1 o'clock.